Welcome to our Movie Explainer channel, where we uncover the untold stories behind your favorite films. The story opens with a distressed woman cradling an unusually large newborn whom she names Cootie, which is ridiculous. Everyone knows they can't get cooties until they're at least 5. She brings him home, wrapped in a blanket to hide him from the outside world. It's evident that there's some mystery surrounding the baby, but we don't know about it yet. As the years pass, we watch Cootie grow at a rapid pace in both size and strength. This causes him to unintentionally break down the doors as he moves around. Although he is loved and well taken care of by his aunts and uncle, they keep him indoors and forbid him from going outside. He watches the other neighborhood kids playing outdoors, while he spends most of his time reading his favorite comic book, VIRGO. Cut to 19 years later, Cootie has grown to become 13 feet tall. Since he no longer fits inside his family home, his caring aunt and uncle build a new, larger house where he can freely move about. One day, while watching TV, he comes across a tempting advertisement for burgers from a fast food chain called Bing Bang Burger. Despite his curiosity to try them, his uncle insists that they're harmful. Turns out the Guardian still maintains strict control over Cootie's activities and confine him within the yard. They're concerned for his safety and fear the potential dangers of the outside world. As a result, Cootie spends his days indoors, working out, playing video games, and watching movies. One night, he sneaks out of his home for the very first time, cleverly disguised as a bush. As he cautiously explores his surroundings, he stumbles upon a group of kids his own age hanging out nearby. Suddenly, a boy named Felix sees something unusual moving in the bushes. Initially, he thinks he's just high. That bush has legs, man. But he soon realizes that the bush is actually a giant in disguise. With this, the word of the hidden giant spreads like wildfire throughout the town. The neighborhood kid then give Cootie the nickname Twomp Monster and even make t-shirts with the same name. And a few days later, Felix and his friends Jones and Scad catch sight of Cootie from outside the fence. Surprisingly, he calls them inside, and as they hang out, they are amazed by his strength and talent. The group then invites Cootie to show him the outside world, but he recalls how his aunt and uncle have strictly prohibited him from doing so. Nevertheless, he boldly declares, "I am a Virgo, and Virgos love adventure." That evening, Cootie's new friends take him on a drive and introduce him to the joys of car cruising and subwoofers. Cootie, in turn, enjoys every moment of his freedom and these new experiences. But with this much weight in the car, that shitty bass system may fall right out the back. Upon returning home, he is met with the disapproving glares of his aunt and uncle. Apparently, they had stumbled upon his car stunt video online. In response, Cootie argues that they have kept him from everything that the world has to offer. His aunt then reveals a series of articles about the tragic fates of giants who mysteriously died and were inhumanely exploited for display. It turns out that throughout history, there has been one such individual in every generation, yet society has always rejected them. Yeah, well, society wasn't rejecting me when I was doing donuts in the lot and hitting blunts, Aunt. Following this, Cootie joins his new friends to grab a Bing Bang Burger. While there, he notices a girl named Flora working with incredible speed. After handing out his order, she surprisingly reveals her own Twomp Monster t-shirt, showing her support. Cootie then excitedly takes a bite of the burger and discovers that it actually tastes awful. Afterward, the group heads to a club where Felix introduces Cootie to a new girl. He tries his best to talk to her, but she ends up rejecting him. As they leave, he accidentally bumps into a man, causing a fight to break out. The man and his friend then cling onto Cootie and beat him up, but he remains unfazed. They're lucky he's a friendly giant, or he probably could have punched one of their dicks straight into their pelvis. Before long, news of this brawl spreads across the media. The hero, the real-life superhero from Cootie's favorite comic book, monitors the news closely and instructs his AI to evaluate the potential threat posed by the Twomp Monster. Meanwhile, Cootie's aunt and uncle also tune into the news coverage and prepare themselves for whatever may come. The uncle then taps on the wall in a rhythmic pattern, revealing a secret shelf with an enormous gun hidden within. Following this, Cootie stops by Bing Bang Burger again, and Flora is delighted to see him. "Are you here to see me?" "Sure as hell not here to see those crap-ass burgers." Later, he heads over to Scott's house to hang out with his friends. As they talk, he confesses that he's interested in her, but also wants to take things slow and get to know her better. However, Jones scoffs at him and reminds him that he barely knows Flora. She also suggests that jumping into a relationship would be a dumb decision, considering his limited experience in the outside world. Besides, if if they get to third base, she might die. Instead, she advises him to keep things light and casual, rather than rushing into a serious commitment. Shortly after, Cootie mentioned that he's run out of cash, so she can't go to Bing Bang Burger to see Flora. Felix immediately mocks him and questions how he plans to have a girlfriend if he can't even afford a burger, a shitty burger. But Jones jumps in and reassures Cootie that staying true to himself is far more valuable than money, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. Afterward, Cootie approaches his aunt to ask for money, but his plan backfires as she becomes furious upon learning that he has been sneaking out of the house. Both his aunt and uncle refuse to lend him any more money and insist that he earn his own income instead. This leaves him feeling frustrated, and he realizes that he must now find a way to support himself if he hopes to make a move on Flora. Later that night, Judy, Felix, and Scat drive to a grocery store to pick up some snacks and liquor. As they reach the checkout counter, all three of them realize that they're short on cash. Just them, Sam Spiegel, a sports and talent agent, approaches them and kindly offers to cover their bill. He then presents Cootie with an enticing offer to partner with him for a career in professional sports. The following day, Flora spots Cootie standing in line to order at Bing Bang. The two subtly flirt with each other as they exchange glances and talk. Later, while hanging out with his friends, Cootie's phone unexpectedly rings. It's Sam Spiegel on the line. He asks him to switch to the sports channel. There, they discover the shocking news that the Twomp monster has been banned from all professional sports. With this issue, Sam advises him to consider alternative sources for income. He then suggests modeling at a local mall and secures him a deal with a proper clothing brand. Cootie then takes advantage of his remarkable height to confidently pose as a living statue and draws the attention of several passerby. Later, Cootie returns to Bing Bang Burger, where to his surprise, Flora approaches him first. She quickly gives him her phone number and asks him to call her at his convenience. She also offers to get him some burgers if he wants and assures him that he doesn't need to wait in line. Oh, those perks. Meanwhile, his aunt and uncle head to a local bar to drink. Their conversation eventually turns to Cootie, and uncle advises his wife not to reveal too much information yet. The full context of their conversation remains unclear, but aunt hopes that Cootie is prepared for whatever lies ahead. As the camera pans around, it reveals that she is carrying a mysterious device in her purse. Elsewhere, Cootie and Flora are enjoying a date at a restaurant where suddenly his attention is drawn to the sky. There, he spots the hero zooming around the city with the help of a drone attached to his suit. Meanwhile, Jones, as a young activist, is seen trying to help people facing eviction. As the scene unfolds, it becomes apparent that these people are struggling financially and being forcibly removed from their homes. The situation escalates as the police start to brutally attack those who resist eviction. Witnessing the chaos, the hero intervenes, but he actually prevents Jones from offering help to those in need. Turns out, he's not a good person after all. He then mockingly waves at her after blocking her efforts. This causes the poor girl to scream at him in frustration from the drowned below. Elsewhere, Cootie passionately expresses his admiration for the hero. He highlights the superhero's commitment to justice, a cause that he wholeheartedly supports. As they talk, Flora notices that Cootie seems unfamiliar with the experience of dining out. She then decides to introduce him to the joys of dining at a restaurant. She takes him to a buffet where she excitedly describes the array of foods available. Cootie also listens attentively as she opens up about her own passion for cooking. Afterward, their conversation shifts towards Flora herself, particularly her mysterious ability to move faster than others. We then dive into a flashback and see her as a toddler, displaying mysterious speed even at such a young age. The doctors claim that her rapid movements are convulsions, but her mother believes that it's something else entirely. From Flora's perspective, however, she experiences time differently, moving at a normal pace while everything around her appears to slow down. As a result, Flora often felt frustrated and misunderstood as a toddler. We see moments when she would cry because her parents were frozen in time and unable to comfort her. It is then revealed that she learned how to communicate through writing, even before she could speak fluently. In a flashback, we see post-it notes scattered across the walls, likely written by Flora to talk to her parents. Over time, she learned to adjust her hewing and speech and slowed them down to match the pace of those around her. The next day, Cootie excitedly tells Felix that he has another date planned with Flora for that evening. Felix, in his usual fashion, hypes him up and explains that the second date typically leads to hookups. However, Cootie notices a sudden itchy rash breaking out on his body that he needs to take care of before the evening. At home, he searches for a remedy online and starts applying raw garlic paste to soothe the rash. Cootie then sprays his uncle's cologne to mask the nasty odor of the garlic before his date with Flora. In the next scene, Felix offers Cootie a ride to his date and gives him a brief pep talk to boost his confidence. Later, during their date, Cootie asks Flora about her mysterious ability of speed speed once more. In response, she shares that every single moment, she is consciously slowing herself down. She explains that she changes her movements and speech to match the pace of those around her. "You already said that," says Cootie. After spending a wonderful time together, Cootie and Flora share a sweet kiss. She then reveals how she has calculated and documented all the possible choices and outcomes for the moment they shared. Red flag. Flora shares that, according to her calculations, there are possibilities of some bad choices and outcomes, but the most probable outcomes are the good ones. Following this, we go back into a flashback of the afternoon when Scat left on his bike. He goes out to the comic store and browses the area. He then buys himself a figure of his favorite character from his favorite animated TV show. Parking tickets. Sounds horrible. Later on, he gets on his bike to get back home, but suddenly falls off while trying to pull off his stunt. Scat finds that a glass shard has been impaled in his stomach. Although he's not bleeding, his phone also drops and breaks down in the process, leaving him unable to ask for any help. Despite his injuries, he somehow arrives at the Crown Hospital on foot. Scat requests for help at the emergency facility, but the receptionist asks for his insurance and claims that the hospital only takes people with health insurance, unless it's life-threatening. She rejects him entirely and explains that she can't take him unless his wounds are actively bleeding. A seriously wounded Scat is then dragged out of the emergency facility, only because his injuries don't seem life-threatening. He walks over to a bus stop and asks for a passerby to use their phone. However, he soon realizes that he doesn't remember anyone's number. He also notices that blood has started dripping from the wound, making him panic. After a while, Felix coincidentally passes by the same street and spots Scat in a critical state. Panicked, he immediately carries him and rushes him to the hospital in his car for treatments. But before they can get to the emergency facility, Scat starts to fall weak. He eventually passes away due to the blood loss, while a helpless Felix cries out for help. Thank you for joining us on this cinematic journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating movie insights. Keep exploring the magic of film with us, and until next time, happy watching.